Okay, so the Atlanteans used common sense and suggested, why do I have a problem with the word? Suggested that they designed the form in its entirety. Have the eyes. First, only the eyes. Design the eyes so that when you walk into it, you are that which pulls the life into it, and then you see through it as it. The Anunnaki went, brain freeze. They don't know what the hell I'm talking about. They said, how are we going to do this? Because now, of course, they're looking inside themselves. They're going, what makes me speak? What makes me think? What makes me look at things, and what makes me consider? Of course, now, if you look at the Atlanteans, you could see right through them. If you look at the Anunnaki, same thing. There wasn't a brain form. There wasn't organs, things like that. Nope, it was just a form. That's why they designed the form as a vessel, as just form. And then that's where the skeleton came, and now the eyes. Now they said, now how are they going to do this? And so it was more the Atlanteans that stepped in, and they said, okay, you're going to need a place inside this form where you're able to do what you do now, which is think. Manifest forms of that which you see that you're doing. In other words, thinking or looking or wondering. Okay? Now manifest those 3 points into one form. Speaking, manifest that into one form. Etc. And of course they did experience what you call it, like feelings and anger and resentment, but they didn't have words for it. They said that which you experience when this and this and this and this happens, put that into one point. So they said, no, that's a good idea. So they went and they looked, okay, what would be the most obvious place where you can put that which thinks, that which looks at things? And they put in the head area. They said, that would be a nice place. And now they said, okay, now you have to look at, now that's where the brain placement came. Now, the brain placement, so what they did, how they designed the brain. Okay, what they did was the following. So Anu went and he said, how am I going to actually design this and manifest this? Firstly, of course, he went and he looked at what you call the Book of Ani, and maybe there was something that his forefathers realized that could assist him now. And indeed, of course, they did. They actually already did what the Atlanteans were suggesting to them they do. Where you could see the eyes, where you could see the brain, where you could see the eyes and the brain. That's all, not the organs yet. Why was that drawn already? Because his forefathers asked the same questions. What makes me speak? What makes me think, look, wonder? What makes me see? And so they started playing with different options, different perspectives. So they had basically this picture drawn inside the Book of Ani, which is eyes, the brain, actually as it is manifested here in this world, how it would work, and but it was more like a round shape. And then that's it. That was all there is. So the Anunnaki went, yes, we've got it now. And so they tried again. They went into, now it was not only the brain and the eyes, and they tried to go in again, and they said, no, it's not working. It's manifested, but now it's just this thing standing, eyes looking at nothing, you can't see anything, the brain is just there. And so they went, okay, maybe now we must connect the brain point, that point to the eyes, because how do you usually think and wonder and look at things when you see something? So maybe we should connect the eyes to the brain. But it's not called the brain, it was called the space that I am in. In other words, the Anunnaki and the Atlanteans place themselves as the brain. That's where they are. That's where they think, look at things, wonder, speak, everything. Just that round place in the head. This is connected to the eyes. So that's what they did. Now they realized, okay, this brain was just one manifested form, and there's two eyes. Now they wonder, how is it going to work? Can they connect this one brain to the two eyes? What will happen? I said, okay, cool, that will do that. So when they did that, and then when they looked through the form, the vessel, what they saw was like a telescope. You know when you look through a telescope and you see one point, it goes to one point. And then it was like looking and seeing, just, it wasn't seeing everything as when you and I look and you see everything. You saw like a round circle. I said, problem. And they said, okay, there's two eyes, maybe we should have two brain spheres. And that's what they did. So they connected the left eye to the left sphere of the brain area, dividing the brain into two pieces. And when they looked again, they saw, beautiful, this works. Okay, but still now they can only look into it and see, but this form is still just nothing. It's just there. And there will be time as well, because as time goes by, this place is starting to manifest. And so they said, okay, let's make about 10,000 shapes just quickly. And so we have a manifested shape so that this shape can manifest as long as Earth manifests, and then we can just, as long as this planet manifests, so then we can be certain that, you know, we're prepared for what may come. If we don't make it, you know, we weren't able to manifest. So what were the Anunnaki actually trying to do? They were actually trying to manifest themselves in a separate form, basically. And the same with the Atlanteans. So the Atlanteans was pretty much in it too. So they made about 10,000 designs of the same, you know, the form. Now you're asking me probably, but what did the form consist of? Where does the form come from? The form was placed by these, what do you call it, the Anunnaki, who was also involved were the Syrians. But the Syrians come a bit more later. So the main groups I'm going to be talking about is the Anunnaki, the Syrians, the serpents, the Martians, and the Leviticus. Yeah, Leviticus. Yeah, them. So they were all involved. But in the beginning, where I am now, it was only Anu, Enki, and Leo. Marduk was only coming later, and then the Atlanteans. Okay, I'm going to continue in my next interview. Thanks.